Hello students, welcome back to Aspire Academy. Aspire Academy is a non-profit organization that আমি education provide কৰো from classes 9 to classes 12 আৰু আমাৰ YouTube channelত সদায় free videos যাই তোমালোকে চাব পাৰা and for detailed classes and class notes কাৰণে আমাৰ websiteত গৈ enroll কৰিলে গোটেইখিনি পাই যাবা। আমি এটা নতুন chapter start কৰিম that is the working of the institutions. এই chapterটোত আমি কি পঢ়িম মই এটা overview দি দিও। So এই chapterটোৰ আমি আজি পঢ়িম তিনিটা institutions of the Indian democracy যোনটোৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ government ইমান efficiently function কৰে and that's why we have the largest democracy. The three institutions are judiciary, legislative and executive. এই তিনিটা institutionsৰ কথা আমি এই chapterটোত পঢ়িম। আৰু কেনেকে policies implement হয় কেনেকে policies বনাই কোনে কোনে বনাই হেখিনি সব আমি এই chapterটো cover কৰিম how a major policy decision taken কেনেকে এটা major policy decision আমি লওঁ বা government লয় এটা major policy যেতিয়া এটা বনাই কেনেকে decisions লয় কোনটো ভাল হ'ব কোনটো বেয়া হ'ব কি থাকিব লাগে হে policies টো কেনেকে decisions বোৰ লয় হেবোৰ আমি পঢ়িম A government order. তোমালোকৰ chapter to start হৈছে এটা government order or example দি On 13th August 1990 the government of India issued an order 1990 13th August government এটা order issue কৰিছিল হে order টো কৈছিলে office memorandum আৰু order টো নাম আছিল office memorandum Like all government orders it had a number and is known by O.N.number hetu number so jeneke sob reports or orders or number thake thik teneke ei order turo number asile the joint secretary and officer in the department of personnel and training of the ministry of personnel public grievances and pensions signed this order kune sign korisile order to joint secretary sign korisile of ejon manu joint secretary hoy beleg departments or department of personnel and training in ministry of personnel tapisor public grievances aru pensions or enita department or jon manu kaam kore secretary kaam korisile teo ei order to sign korisile in it was a quite short barely one page it looked like any ordinary curricular or notice that you may have seen in your school jeneke tumalukor school oru notice board ot kiba notun function hobo hetur এটা notice পঠাই and তোমালোকে দেখা তোমালোকৰ notice board ot এনেকে লগাই থৈ দিয়ে ঠিক তেনেকুৱাই আছিল এই order টো দেখিবলে the government issued hundreds of orders every day in different departments আৰু government এ সদায় বহুত কেটা orders বেলেগ department ot put forward kore by issue kore But this one was very important and became a source of controversy for several years. But a order to बहुत important asile और बहुत controversy so face korise. Order to a to asile. Subject asile order to 27% reservations for secure socially and educationally backward classes in civil post services. So yate reservations or kotha put forward korisile aru ei order to disile je amar jiman civil service post ase tare pora 27% seats reserved thakibo jonbur backward classes hoy jenike OBC SC ST mostly ST and SC er karone The order announced a major policy decision eta bahut dangor policy decision issue korisile It said that 27% of vacancies in the civil post and services in the government of all India are reserved for socially and economically backward classes. SCBC section or karne 27% seats reserved thakibo civil service post or karone. SCBC is another name to people who belong to caste that are considered backward by the government. Aru SCBC a junto category hoy a category kunbur manu thake junbur কাষ্ট বহুত backward হয় socially and economically or educationally backward classes হয় সেই classes বোৰ SE BC categorized করা হয় by the government. The benefit of job reservation was still then available to scheduled and caste and scheduled tribes আৰু তাৰে আগৰ লকে ST আৰু SC কাৰণেহে reservations আছিলে but 13th August 1990s government এটা order দিলে যে এতিয়াৰ পৰা 27% of seat ST and SC বাহিৰেও SE BC sectionৰ কাৰণে reserve থাকিব লাগিব. Now a new third category called SEBC was introduced. এটা নতুন category introduced কৰা হৈছিলে. Only persons who belong to backward classes were eligible to the quota of 27% votes. যোনবোৰ একদম backward classes belong কৰে backward classes belong কৰে socially educationally হেনেকুৱা section মানুহখিনিৰ কাৰণেহে এই provision টো applied হ'ব আৰু তাহাঁতৰ কাৰণে 27% post reserved থাকিব. Other could not compete for this jobs আৰু কোনো বেলেগ মানুহে বা category মানুহে general OBC ST SC কোনো category যে আহি SC BC post ল'ব নোৱাৰে সেইবোৰ strictly 27% seats strictly SC BC কাৰণে reserved থাকিব. The decision makers. Who are the decision makers? Who? কোন হয় decision makers যোনে issued কৰিছে orders বোৰ যোনে memorandum খন issue কৰিলে কোন হয় হে মানুহখিনি Clearly, such a big decision could not have been taken by the person who signed the document. অকল যোনে sign কৰিছে তেওঁৱে হে ইমান ডাঙৰ এটা decision ল'ব নোৱাৰে obviously বহুত meetings পাতিছে consult কৰিছে বেলেগ বেলেগ fields experts লগত তাৰ পিছতে ইমান ডাঙৰ decision এটা লৈছে the officer was merely implementing the instructions given by the Minister of Personal, Public Grievances and Pension of which the department was part of. আৰু যোনজন অফিচাৰে সাইন কৰিছিলে তেওঁ just order to follow কৰিছে যোনে কোনে order টো দিছে আমি পঢ়িছিলো যে joint secretary এই order টো pass কৰিছে আৰু কোনে দিছিলে order টো Minister of Personal Public Grievances Minister দিছিলে MP দিছিলে Minister of Personal Grievances Public Grievances Ministry of Personal and Pension এই ডিপাৰ্টমেন্টৰ পৰা এই অৰ্ডাৰটো আহিছে আৰু জয়েন্ট সেক্ৰেটাৰীয়ে just sign কৰিছিলে তেওঁ ফলো কৰিছিলে we can guess that such a major decision would have involved other major functionaries in our country আৰু যেনেকে এই ডিসিশনটো লৈছে বেলেগ বেলেগ meetings party consult কৰি and আৰু structure টো একদম ওপৰৰ পৰা order টো আহিছে সেই তেনেকে বেলেগ বেলেগ যিমান major decisions হৈছে আমাৰ countryক লৈ হেবোৰ সব এনেকে হৈছে এটো way follow কৰি আহিছে you have already read the previous class about some of them let us go over some of the main points you have covered President is the head of the state and is the highest formal authority of the country. Our president amar highest authority hoy aru formal head hoy amar gute country. Jeneke amar ghorar ekdom bura manujon head hoy ba teor mote amar ghor chole thik teneke amar country khon amar president or mote chole teo head hoy amar country. Then Prime Minister is the head of government and actually exercises all governmental powers. আৰু আমাৰ governmentor head কোন হয় Prime Minister. আৰু যিমান governmentor decisions আছে যি powers আছে হেবোৰ সব Prime Ministerৰ মতে চলে. He takes most of the decisions in the cabinet meetings. আৰু governmentor যিমান meetings হয় সব decisions বোৰ আমাৰ Prime Ministerে লয়. Parliament consists of the president and two houses, Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Aru parliament amar duta house ase. Ami poriso Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, which is the lower house and the upper house. Itu ami পঢ়িছো. The Prime Minister must have the support of the majority of Lok Sabha members. আৰু Prime Minister কাৰ support বেছিকে লাগে? Lok Sabha members বেছি support লাগে in the parliament. This office memorandum was culmination of a long chain of events. আৰু এই মেমৰেণ্ডামখন যোনটো আমাৰ 13th August 1990 ইস্যু কৰা হৈছিলে এইটো বহুত যি ইভেন্টস হৈছে আমি দেখিছো বেলেগ বেলেগ সেকশন অফ দ্য সোসাইটিয়ে সাফাৰ কৰিছে তেওঁলোকৰ এগেইনষ্ট ডিসক্ৰিমিনেশনস হৈছে এইবোৰ দেখাৰ পিছতহে এইবোৰ ইস্যুজ আইডেন্টিফাই কৰাৰ পিছতহে এই মেমৰেণ্ডামখন পাস কৰা হৈছে The government of India had appointed Second Backward Class Commission in 1979. আৰু 1979 government কি কৰিছিলে Second Backward Class Commission এটা form কৰিছিলে It was headed by BP Mandal আৰু head কোন আছিলে leader কোন আছিলে leader আছিলে BP Mandal Hence, it was popularly called the Mandal Commission. আৰু since BP Mandale head কৰিছিলে তেওঁৰ surname টো লৈ পেলাই commission টো name কৰা হৈছিলে after him commission টোৰ নাম Mandal Commission বুলিও জানা যায় It was asked her to determine the criteria to identify the socially and educationally backward classes in India and recommend steps to be taken for their advancement. আৰু এই কমিশনটো কাম কি আছিলে এই কমিশনটো কাম আছিল যে এই কমিশনটো বনাইছিলে so that এই কমিশনটোৱে আইডেন্টিফাই কৰিব পাৰে কোনবোৰ ক্লাसेस socially backward হয় or educationally backward হয় characterize কৰা পিছতহে আইডেন্টিফাই কৰা পিছতহে আমি কিমান ৰিজাৰ্ভেশনস লাগিব তেওঁলোকে ডিসিশনস ল'ব পাৰিব সো ফাৰ্স্ট স্টেপ এটো আছিল যে তেওঁ এই কমিশনটো আইডেন্টিফাই কৰিব কোনবোৰ ক্লাसेस socially and educationally backward হয় SC BC class a category 2 ST SC পৰা different হয় The commission gave its report in 1980 and made many recommendations. আৰু identify কৰিলে কিমান মানুহ socially and educationally backward হয় তাৰ পিছত কিছুমান suggestions দিছিলে recommendations দিছিলে suggestions দিছিলে 1980 এখন report লিখিছিলে আৰু suggestions দিছিলে কি কৰিলে ভাল হ'ব কিমান seats reserve কৰিলে ভাল হ'ব কি আৰু steps ল'ব পাৰে for SCBC classes one of this was that 27% of government jobs be reserved for socially and educationally backward classes. Aru etu recommendation disile je suggestion disile je 27% seat reserved koribo SC classes or karne jonbur socially and educationally backward hoy hey classes buro karne 27% seats reserved koribo for civil service posts The report and recommendations were discussed in the parliament. Aru kiba order pass kora agote parliament to discuss kore. Meeting party ane order to pass kora agot discuss kore. If majority vote by then he order to pass kore. For several years, many parliamentaries and parties kept demanding the implementation of commission recommendation. Aru bahut bochor চলিছিলে আৰু বহুত বছৰ পিছতহে এই অৰ্ডাৰটো পাস কৰা হৈছিলে বহুত ডিসকাশন চলিছিলে বহুতে সাপোৰ্ট কৰিছিলে যে এই অৰ্ডাৰটো পাস কৰিবলে Then came the Lok Sabha elections of 1989 In its election manifesto, the Janata Dal promised that if voted to power, it would implement the Mandal Commission report. তাৰপিছত 1989 যোনটো ইলেকশন হৈছিলে তাতে জনতা দলে প্ৰমিস কৰিছিলে মানুহখিনিক যে যদি সিটিজেন্সৰ মেজৰিটি ভোট পায় এণ্ড জনতা দল জিকে তেতিয়া মণ্ডল কমিশনৰ যোনটো ৰিপোৰ্ট হয় 20% seat reserved for SC BC class হেতু ইমপ্লিমেন্ট কৰিব বুলি প্ৰমিস কৰিছিলে The Janata Dal did form the government after this election. Aru Janata Dale elections jikisile hetu time on. Its leader VP Singh became the prime minister. Our prime minister kun asile Janata Dalor leader VP Singh. Several developments took place after that. Several developments took place after that. Bahut aru developments hoisile Janata Dal jika loge loge. The President of India, in his address to the parliament announced that the intention of the government to implement the recommendations of Mandal Commission. তাৰপিছত প্ৰেসিডেন্ট অফ ইণ্ডিয়াই আনাউন্স কৰিছিলে পাৰ্লিয়ামেন্টত যে মণ্ডল কমিশনৰ যোনটো ৰিপৰ্ট হয় ৰিকমেন্ডেশন হয় সেইটো আমি পাস কৰিম বুলি On 6th August 1990 the Union Cabinet took a formal decision to implement the recommendation তাৰপিছত ইউনিয়ন গভৰ্নমেন্টেও 1990 decision ললে যে আমি formally a recommendation to implement কৰিম of the Mandal Commission Next day, Prime Minister VP Singh informed the Parliament about the decision through a statement in both the houses of Parliament. Tapisot VP hetu timer Prime Minister VP Singh lower house, upper house dutate announce korile je President or Union Cabinet koise je a report to implement koribo boli announce korile. The decision of the cabinet was sent to the Department of Personnel and Training. Aru a decision to kuntu department of pothua hoisile Department of Personnel and Training department of pothua hoisile. The senior officers of the department drafted an order in line with cabinet decision and took the minister's approval. Tarpisot department draft korile report tour তাৰপিছত ক্যাবিনেটৰ যি ডিসিশনস আছিল হেবোৰো লিখিলে আৰু মিনিষ্টাৰৰ এপ্ৰুভেলৰ কাৰণে পঠালে and officers signed the order on behalf of the union government this was how the memorandum was implemented তাৰপিছত এজন মিনিষ্টাৰে অফিচাৰে সাইন কৰিলে in the place of minister আৰু হেনেকে memorandum খন implement কৰা হৈছিল order to implement কৰা হৈছিল For the next few months, this was the most hotly debated issue in the country. Aru kemah mano karone ei issue to 27% seat reserve kora juntur order hoy eta dangor chaos uthaisile manuhor majot iman % of seat reserve korise eta section এটা ক্যাটাগরি কারণে বহুত মানুহে ডিবেট কৰিছে এটো ভাল হয় নে বেয়া হয় এতিয়াও আমাৰ কিবাটা হলে আমাৰ বহুত এনেকে স্পিকারস বহি থাকে এন্ড ডিবেট কৰে ইভেন কাৰ টাইমত বহুত এনেকা ডিবেটস হৈছিলে ভাল হয় নে বেয়া হয় ঠিক তেনেকে হেতু টাইমতো ডিবেটস হৈছিলে নিউজ পেপারস এন্ড ম্যাগাজিনস were full of different views and opinions on the issues aro newspapers television sobote ei news e die flooded asile It led to widespread protest and counter protest some of which were violent aru bahut protest hoisile he protest buror against ako protest hoisile because supporters asile offenders asile to jonor majote conflict hoisile aru kisuman violent to asile People reacted strongly because these decisions affected thousands of job opportunities. Kiho karone manukhiniৰ মাজত ইমান conflict হৈছিলে because a reservation to ahar loge jiman thousands of manu ase tahator jobs bur rock affect koribo because half of the seats already tinta category karone already reserve কৰা আছিল এতিয়া আৰু এটা নতুন ক্লাস ইন্ট্ৰোডিউস কৰিছে যাৰ কাৰণে 27% সিট ৰিজাৰ্ভ থাকিব তো যোনবোৰ আনৰিজাৰ্ভ ক্যাটাগৰি আছে তাহাতৰ কাৰণে এটা ডিসএডভান্টেজ হৈ গৈছিল এন্ড তাহাতৰ জব এফেক্ট কৰিব পাৰে সেই কাৰণে মানুহৰ মাজত ইমান কনফ্লিক্ট ষ্টাৰ্ট হৈছিল some felt that the existence of inequalities among people of different caste in India necessitated job reservations কিছুমান মানুহৰ এটো opinion আছিল যে caste আমাৰ ইন্ডিয়াত caste divisions ইমান আছে caste inequalities ইমান আছে হেতু কাৰণে এনেকা job reservations हुआ start hoise they felt that this would give a fair opportunity to those communities who so far had not adequately been represented in the government employ aru kisuman manwe koise je etu reservation korato bhal hoise because আজিলৈকে যোনবোৰ ক্লাसेছত ইমান ইম্পৰ্টেন্স দিয়া নাছিলো যোনে নিজক ইমান ভালকে ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্ট কৰিব পৰা নাছিলে এতিয়া থ্ৰু জব ৰিজাৰ্ভেশনস তাহাতে হে অপৰচুনিটিটো পাই আছে এন্ড নিজকে ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্ট কৰিব পাৰিব এজ আ গভৰ্নমেন্ট এমপ্লয় Others felt that this was unfair as it would deny equality of opportunity to those who did not belong to backward classes. So কিছুমানৰ কাৰণে এইটো এটা প্ৰবলেম হৈছে লাইক দি আনৰিজাৰ্ভড ক্লাছ যে তাহাঁতৰ কাৰণে প্ৰবলেম হৈছে যে এই সব ক্লাছেছৰ কাৰণে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যনছ আছে আমাৰ কি হ'ব আমাৰ জব এফেক্ট কৰিব they would be denied jobs even though they could be more qualified. Though the unreserved section of BC education qualification is still reservation of কাৰণে তেওঁলোকক select কৰা নহয়. So it was a big problem. Some felt that it would perpetuate caste feelings among people and hamper national unity. আৰু এতিয়া আৰু বেছি divided feel কৰিম আমি আমাৰ unity টো লাহে লাহে কমি যাব কিছুমানৰ হেতু opinion আছিলে. In this chapter, we won't discuss whether the decision was good or bad. We only talk this as an example to understand the major decisions taken and implemented in our country. আমি এই ক্লাছটোত এই মেমৰেণ্ডামটোক লৈ আমি ডিসকাস নকৰো ইয়াৰ বাহিৰেও আমি ইনষ্টিটিউশনছ কেইখনক ডিসকাস কৰিম যেনেকৈ মই একদম ষ্টাৰ্টিং অফ দ্য ক্লাছ কৈছিলো ইয়াতে জাস্ট আমি এটা জিষ্ট দেখিলো যে কেনেকৈ আমাৰ ডিসিশনছবোৰ লোৱা হয় আমাৰ কান্ট্ৰীত Who resolved this dispute? You know that the Supreme Court and the High Courts in India settle disputes arising of governmental decisions. Aru government of law jodi amar kiba complaint thake ami either High Court or High Court or nohole ami Supreme Court or jabo paru and ei duta court amak help kore to overcome these disputes. Ei disputes bur solve koribole. Some persons and associations opposed to this order filed a number of cases in the court. Aru বহুত মানুহে কোর্টত কেস ফাইল কৰিছে against the government for this order. এই অর্ডারটো কাৰণে বহুত মানুহে ফাইল কৰিছে complaint against the government. They appealed to the court to declare the order invalid and stop its implementation. আৰু বহুতে কৈছিল যে এইটো order invalid হয় and এইটো implement যাতে নহয় হেতু কাৰণে হিহঁতে a court of Jaipale case filed against the government. The Supreme Court of India bunched all these cases together. Aru a case to kune handle against the government, Supreme Court handle korisile. This case was known as Indira Swanhe and others versus Union of India case. 11 judges of the Supreme Court headed arguments of both sides. 11 জন judge asile kejonman for the bill supporters asile aru kisuman offenders asile jone support kora nasile and tahator majot heated arguments hoisile. By a majority, the Supreme Court judges in 1992 declared this order of Government of India was valid. Aru majority jetia discussions bur hunile judge etia 1992 etu conclusion not ahile je ei case to valid hoy a report khon valid hoy order to valid hoy. At the same time, the Supreme Court asked government to modify its original order aru kisuman changes koribo disile original order to. It said that well-to-do persons among the backward classes should be excluded from getting benefits of reservation. Tahati koisil je kisuman manu he category to belong koribo pare SC BC category to belong koribo pare but tahati powerful hoy bhal earning eta ase and they don't suffer all kinds of discriminations or poverty. He manu khinie jate SC BC section of belong kora reservation or benefits bur na pai. Genuinely junbur manu discrimination face korise jar problems ase poverty ase he khini manu he reservation rights bur enjoy koribo. Accordingly, the department personnel and training issued another order of its memorandum on September 8, 1993. The dispute thus came to an end and this policy have been followed since then. There's a changes anile this on 8 September 1993 dako implement korile memorandum kon order kon ulale and etia amar India ei order to follow kori jai. Need for political institutions. Amar political institutions kiho karone lage ami ei section tut pohim. Etia ami just example eta salu keneke decision loa hoy. If a decision tut ami agree nokoru tetia ami High Court or mostly Supreme Court or jai government or against a case file koribo paru to bring changes or he process to implement no koribole. We have seen one example of how the government works. Governing a country involves various activities. Ekhon country govern korba a vast country like India, the government has to be very cautious, bahut understanding hobo lage and careful hobo lage to while implementing its policies. For example, the government is responsible for ensuring security to the citizens and providing facilities of education and healthcare. It collects taxes and spends money, thus raised on administration, defense, और यार बेलेग बेलेग गवर्नमेंट एक्टिविटीज और एग्जांपल्स দিয়া আছে যেনেকে আমাৰ হেলথ কেয়াৰ সার্ভিস সিস্টেমস ঠিক কৰিছে দেন আমাৰ ট্যাক্সেস আমাৰ পৰা লয় এন্ড হে ট্যাক্সেস বোৰ roads বনাওতে bridges বনাওতে বা বেলেগ বেলেগ activities programs implement কৰোতে হেবোৰ ইউজ কৰিছে তো এইবোৰ কিছুমান এক্সাম্পলছৰ কথা মেনশন কৰা হৈছে So to attend all these tasks, several arrangements are made in all modern democracies. Such arrangements are called institutions. Aru kisuman arrangement kora hoise jate kiba activities korute bhalke efficiently function kore and kuno party ba section of the society dissatisfy nokore or tahator sentiments hurt nokore. A democracy works well when these institutions perform functions assigned to them. Aru a democracy keneke bhalke function koribo jetia institutions e nijor functions bur janibo and yoto rules and regulations mani efficiently function koribo tetia hai democracy full smooth functioning hobo. The constitution of any country lays down basic rules and powers and functions of its institutions. Aru jiman country ase sobore constitution ase like Indian constitution yo nijor country khon keneke run korbo kuntu department kiman powers thakibo ki responsibilities thakibo ki positions thakibo hebur sob rule out kora ase hebur sob rules likha ase ami hetu chapter 2 3 already pohisu. In the examples above, we saw several such institutions at work. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet are institutions that takes all the important policy decisions. Prime Minister or Cabinet Minister ki kore amar government e je policies loy hebur policies or discussions or participate kore and tahate hebur decisions loy. The civil servants working together are responsible for taking steps to implement ministers' decisions. Aru jonbur civil servants hoy IPS, ACS, hebur manue hebur officers e ki kore prime minister cabinet minister jonbur policy decisions loisile hebur implement korote help kore. Supreme Court is an institution where disputes between citizens and the governments are finally settled. Our Supreme Court e ki kore amar government or against ji complaints ase ami jai pelai Supreme Court tate case dibo file koribo paru against the government aru Supreme Court citizens aru government or major mediator hoy teo Supreme Court he disputes bur settle kore or solve kore thik ase amar class to ekhinite hek korisu. Thank you.